guitar legend Stevie Ray Vaughan, dead at 35. If you died at 35, what would you be known as? A legend?
Legend Stevie Ray Vaughan was born October 3, 1954 in Dallas, Texas, 3 years after his brother Jimmy, an American musician, singer, songwriter, and record producer, best known as the guitarist and frontman of the blues rock band Double Trouble. Although his mainstream career would only last 7 years, he's considered an icon and one of the greatest guitarists of all time, all by the age of 35. Stevie's dad, Jimmy, also known as Big Jim, dropped out of high school at the age of 16 and enlisted in the U.S. Navy during World War II. After his discharge, he married Martha Jean on January 13, 1950. Big Jim secured a job as an asbestos worker, which required moving the family from city to city to stay employed. Stevie lived in more than 30 towns, starting a new school each time, which made him become more shy and insecure as a child. In the late 1950s, the Vaughan family moved to Dallas, Texas, the same small house where his mom Martha would continue to live for another 50 years. Stevie picked up his first guitar in 1961 at the age of 7, a small plastic toy guitar with only 3 strings.
He got one of those little guitars, those little guitars with the cowboys on them. Yeah. And then we started really trying to play.
He acquired his first electric guitar, teaching himself how to play by following along the songs of blues legends Albert King, Muddy Waters, and rock legend Jimi Hendrix. Although a hand-me-down guitar from his brother Jimmy, it enabled Stevie to play his first gig at Lee Park in Dallas, Texas.
I would sort of move up, I'd get a better guitar, and then he would kind of get the hand-me-down. And then, it just sort of went on like that.
By 1969, he was introduced to the Austin, Texas music scene, a city more tolerant of the blues compared to Dallas, Texas.
In Austin, you get the chance to play what you want to play. People accept it. That's why we all really moved to Austin.
In the summer of 1970, after falling into a barrel of grease while working at his fast food job, Stevie quits, dedicating his life to music full-time. In 1972, at the age of 17, he dropped out of high school and moved to Austin, where he began playing gigs and joins the rock band Cracker Jack for a few months. In 1973, he joins Mark Bino and the Nightcrawlers, who recorded an album that was never released. The band features Doyle Bramhall, who begins a 17-year songwriting partnership with Stevie.
These guys picked up quick, and as they were great drummers, great guitar players, they became great songwriters immediately. They pick that stuff up and I go, whoops, you're not going to need me much longer.
During 1974, Stevie obtains the beat-up Fender Stratocaster known as Number 1, which becomes his trademark guitar for the rest of his career.
Someone told me that your wife is third in line in your life, right? Tell me about that.
She's right up there. It's just that, my first wife is right there.
This
Definitely.
Looks like it has seen the war, Stevie.
It has, but that's part of life, sometimes.
How old is this guitar?
It's a 59. She's been played, she's got some scars, but...
So this is you call it sort of half-jokingly first wife?
Yes, and this is, it's not joking at all.
In 1975, he joins the Cobras. They would average 5 gigs a week for the next 2.5 years. Stevie would leave the Cobras, staying in Austin, Texas, forming the blues rock band Double Trouble in 1978. The group would go through several lineup changes before becoming the Power Trio, consisting of Vaughan, Chris Layton on drums, and Tommy Shannon on bass. After 3 years of playing the Austin music scene, Double Trouble gets the first big break when a tape of them playing a local festival is given to Mick Jagger of the Rolling Stones, who's so impressed he invites the band to play a private party in New York City. As they begin to play bigger gigs, in 1982 they play Montreux International Jazz Festival.
A fantastic guitar player from Austin, Texas, Stevie Ray Vaughan! Stevie Ray Vaughan!
Being the first unsigned band to ever play this festival, the band was booed for being too loud and not jazz. At the festival, Stevie meets Jackson Browne, who offers the band to lay down some tracks at his studio for what later becomes his debut album, Texas Flood.
Down in Texas.
Stevie also meets David Bowie at Montreux, who asks him to add guitar to his Let's Dance album and to join him on a world tour. But before the tour would even begin, Stevie quits during rehearsals to focus on his own band Double Trouble, which turns out to be a key moment in his career.
He asked me to do the tour with Double Trouble opening up. It was just a line of bullshit, you know. Well, no, we were never even on the show.
Really?
He just wanted me to play with him, so I didn't go.
In the spring of 1983, producer John Hammond hears a tape of the Montreux performance and wants to sign them to a record deal with Epic Records. Hammond is credited with discovering Billie Holiday, Bob Dylan, and Bruce Springsteen, among others. June 1983, Double Trouble's first album, Texas Flood, is released with a tour consisting of 116 shows. On May 1984, the second album, Couldn't Stand the Weather, is released with the tour consisting of 147 shows. September 1985, the band's third album, Soul to Soul, is released. This tour would have a total of 201 shows. July 1986, the band records 2 shows in Austin and Dallas, Texas, for a live album which becomes their fourth album released in November, having a tour of 207 shows. June 1989, the band's final album, In Step, is released with the tour only having 136 shows. The album has the song Crossfire, which is Double Trouble's only song to make #1 on the hot mainstream rock tracks. January 1990, Stevie performs on MTV Unplugged, playing Pride and Joy, Testify, and Rude Mood. Spring of 1990, Stevie records an album Family Style with his brother Jimmy in Memphis, Tennessee, which was scheduled for release that fall. The day before his death, Stevie told his band and crew members about a horrible nightmare he had, in which he was at his own funeral and saw thousands mourning. He said he felt terrified, yet almost peaceful. Stevie's last performance at the Alpine Valley show was 2 nights performing with Eric Clapton, Buddy Guy, Jimmy Vaughan, and Robert Cray. First night, East Troy, Wisconsin, in front of a capacity crowd, while the second night was sold out with 30,000. After the show, Stevie boards one of 4 helicopters bound for Chicago, piloted by Jeff Brown, a 42-year-old veteran pilot. Stevie wanted to get back to Chicago to see his fiancée Jana. At 1 a.m., the helicopters began to depart in dense fog at 2-minute intervals. Stevie's helicopter crashes into the side of a 300-foot ski slope, almost half a mile from takeoff. All on board were killed instantly, including Stevie, the pilot, Eric Clapton's agent Bobby Brooks, Clapton's bodyguard Nigel Brown, and his assistant tour manager Colin Smith. Nobody was aware of the crash until the helicopter failed to arrive at its destination the next morning, with the Wisconsin Civil Air Patrol discovering the wreckage at 7 a.m. The National Transportation Safety Board determined the accident was caused by fog, darkness, the rising terrain, and the lack of visual cues available to the pilot. They found no drugs or alcohol to be involved. There was no fire or explosion, and no mechanical failure or malfunctions with the helicopter. They concluded Brown simply could not see the ski slope due to low visibility. With this being such a high-profile accident, 2 independent experts were tasked with finding additional details by renting an identical helicopter and recreating the event. They discovered the parking lot lights provided sufficient lighting on the ground. However, once rising above those parking lot lights, the surrounding hills blocked out all light from all directions. Using the helicopter's instruments, they climbed to reach the appropriate altitude, now able to see the city lights. After several attempts of recreating the event, they found 2 factors which possibly led to the accident. First, pilot Jeff Brown wasn't certified to fly the helicopter in low visibility conditions by his instruments alone. However, this night was not thought to be low visibility. Second, we also learned that Jeff Brown had recently failed an instrument check ride prior to this event. The experts concluded once Jeff rose above the parking lot, he couldn't see. He proceeded to make a 40-degree downward turn that led them directly into the ski slope, not realizing anything was wrong until the moment prior to impact. Vaughan's funeral service was held on August 31st, 1990 at Laurel Land Cemetery in Dallas, Texas. An estimated 2,000 to 3,000 guests were in attendance, including Stevie Wonder, Jeff Healey, Bonnie Raitt, Jackson Browne, and Buddy Guy. Vaughan's grave marker reads, Stevie Ray Vaughan, October 3, 1954 to August 27, 1990. Thank you for all the love you passed our way. Big Jim, Stevie's dad, died exactly the same day 4 years before Stevie on August 27, 1986. He's also buried at the Vaughan estate plot with his wife, Stevie's mother, Martha. Stevie in Double Trouble won 6 Grammy Awards out of 12 nominations, 10 Austin Music Awards with an induction into the Austin Music Hall of Fame, total of 5 W.C. Handy National Blues Awards, now called the Blues Music Awards, becoming the first white person to win B.B. King Entertainer and Blues Instrumentalist Awards. Inducted into the Blues Hall of Fame and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, with a total album sales in the US over 15 million units. Guitar World magazine ranks him number 8 on its list of 100 greatest guitarists. Rolling Stone magazine ranks Stevie number 12 on its list of 100 greatest guitarists. On October 3, 1991, a year after Stevie's death, the Texas governor signs an official proclamation to making Stevie's birthday, October 3rd, Stevie Ray Vaughan Day. November 21, 1993, the Stevie Ray Vaughan Memorial Statue is unveiled on Town Lake, Austin, Texas. The statue becomes a popular attraction for locals and tourists alike. An easygoing, humble, lovable man of faith who loved people, music, and giving everything he had with every performance. Stevie bridged that gap between blues and rock like no other artist had since the late 60s, igniting the blues revival of the 1980s.